It's 6 p.m. on October 8th, 2024, and I'm calling the meeting of the Whately Select Board to order. First item on the agenda is to review and vote to approve the meeting minutes from September 24th, 2024. Any comment from or corrections from?
Thank you. I'm good.
One minor correction on the other attendees present. I think Toro Verde in the last sentence of other attendees present is only with one R.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'll make that correction.
Yeah, I don't know why they spelled it wrong.
Thought I went off the sheet that we had, but I'll
I've
correct it.
seen it Toro with
Right.
one R, but whichever
Yeah.
is correct.
Okay.
I moved to approve the minutes with the one correction. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Next, to review and discuss vendor and payroll warrants. Any questions or concerns?
No, I'm good.
Right. It's
Tie a ribbon,
What's that?
tie a ribbon on your finger.
I don't remember the size. She's like, for what?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're all set.
Smart.
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, it's your cable TV. You're up.
Smart borough. Public comment. Residents may provide comments up to 3 minutes per person on items not on the agenda. We don't have anybody in the audience here. Does not look like we have anybody on Zoom.
Mhm.
Okay.
Nobody in the waiting room?
No. Old business, ARPA, CLFRF. Review, discuss, and vote on funding requests and status of open projects. All right, let's catch ourselves up on this again.
Yep. Yeah, there was some.
So we have 4 projects that are confirmed, completed and fully invoiced and paid. So those are the accounting software with a remaining balance of $592. The air duct cleaning at the elementary school, no remaining balance. Mini splits at the elementary school, also no remaining balance. And then the fire alarm sprinkler emergency repair at the elementary school with a remaining balance of just over $3,800.
Okay.
And that's, they, in the end, didn't need that extra.
Correct. And yeah,
Because
so
they knew
what,
they
what
weren't
happened
gonna
was they
estimate.
had received an estimate, and then when they actually went in, realized as they were doing the repairs, they didn't need as much
Oh.
of the pieces. So
Okay,
it helped
materials.
us out, yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems pretty straightforward. We do want to unobligate those funds.
We'll
So they can be
accept a motion to do that.
So I move that we unobligate the remaining funds totaling $4,432.80.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
So at this point, our total of money that we need to obligate by December. Is that on this sheet?
It's on the next page. You have a,
The spread on this spreadsheet?
it's not on the spreadsheet, but on the report. Once with that unobligated and the original unobligated of just over 2,600, there is now $7,057.80 unobligated,
Okay.
which brings us to the next point. A request to re-obligate funds. You may remember back in August, the school department had, as part of like when we were looking at the monies for the sprinkler system, the school department believed that the second phase of the floor, the floor work, the bathroom floor work, the $10,000 was not necessary out of ARPA because they had the capital project. They actually needed it and they had already billed against it. We caught it, thankfully. Although you had obligated 10,000 and unobligated that, they only needed $6,550. So we need to re-obligate that $6,550, not the full 10,000, which thankfully we do have funds for. But yeah, it would leave us with about $500.
$500, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Not to
507
force it, but we kinda,
Yeah,
Gotta spend it.
yeah,
Use it or lose it.
and,
but, we'll get into this when we get into the warrant. The positive is, I had mentioned before that the mini splits were paid from ARPA money.
mhm,
ARPA funds are considered a special revenue fund, and because of that, because it didn't come out of general fund, out of a capital request or taxes, it actually, any rebates go back to the original fund, which means the rebate money from the mini splits will go back into ARPA. And we did get confirmation that we are going to receive that rebate money by November 1st, and that's about $23,000. So come November, we're gonna ask you again, a possible or not re-obligating, but obligating those new monies that came back in.
Wow, that's interesting. that it
Yeah.
comes
So we
back.
may have
That's good.
well, yeah,
$50 right now, but we're gonna have 20-something thousand shortly.
Okay, alrighty.
okay.
I'll accept a motion.
And I'll move that the board re-obligate $6,550 for the second phase of the Whately Elementary, just a school project.
Yeah,
It's
it's the flooring
School
replacement.
flooring.
Yeah,
replacement
sorry.
project.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Special town meeting. Yeah, we have an explanation of all the
Hard range.
bylaws.
Right, so yeah, I didn't manage the school for years, so definitely. That will be the one. You're ready to walk us through that.
I
right?
am, yep,
Yes.
yeah, I can walk you through the whole warrant.
If I'm on Zoom, I'd be putting little hearts up there.
Town council has reviewed it. The version that you have printed tonight is with all of council's recommendations. There were a few minor changes that happened. One of which was we combined two of the fire department articles so that we were rescinding and approving transfer it all in one article. And then some minor language changes. So in the end, we're now at, but then although we removed the request from the school department to repurpose the rebate money because it's no longer a town meeting vote, we did need to add in an article for the agricultural preservation restriction on the Galensky property. The town had confirmed to the state back in February that the town body would seek the $13,000 in funds, but it never got onto the annual town meeting warrant. And now with the closing of the property happening in March, we need to obligate the money, or we need to essentially approve the money now so that they can close, otherwise it's gonna push it completely out. So there is an added article, we've removed a couple articles, but I can walk you through each one. Do you want to, as we walk through, do you then want to take an action on your recommendation, or do you want me to walk through all of them and then do your recommendations?
I would say go through all of them.
Yeah,
and
do it all.
If we have any questions
Okay,
or amendments, we can go back and.
okay.
read them.
All right, so Article 1, this is approving bills of prior fiscal years, $450 for that assessing software. Article 2, this is rescinding the opioid settlement special purpose stabilization fund, because we have to do the change from a special purpose stabilization fund to a special revenue fund in order to properly utilize those funds. So the first article is to rescind that previous vote. And Article 3 is then to transfer the money that is in that stabilization fund over to a new opioid settlement special purpose.
And that doesn't take a different
Sorry.
vote
Yeah,
to
right,
establish an opioid revenue fund? Or we can
This
we can just
is-
establish that willy-nilly?
This is the creation of the special opioid revenue fund.
Oh, so it both creates and.
It's creating
Transfers
and
to-
transferring, yeah,
This
because
the word creates now, not in
Right,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not in there. It just says-
so it says in Article 2, which is a little wonky, but in the very middle of it, such funds henceforth to be placed in a special opioid revenue fund approved by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue's Director of Accounts pursuant to said chapter 77. So in Article 2, you're rescinding, and by state process, there is this fund mechanism. So that's doing that, and then you're in the next step, you're saying, okay, now we're moving the money into it.
So it's not an account we have to create, sounds like.
You're
Sounds like it is-
essentially doing it by these, but it's operated per that chapter 77.
And, okay, well, if you and council are good with that wording,
Yeah,
it's, good with me.
Okay.
okay, so Article 4. This is to establish the fire department revenue fund, so essentially it's a general bylaw amendment because the revolving. I think I said revenue fund, revolving funds are in the general bylaws, so this is a general bylaw amendment. Creates the new revenue revolving fund for the fire department. All of the inspectional service fees, fines, late charges will go into this revolving account instead. It establishes a spending limit of 25,000. They currently have 3,000. It establishes the authority to spend as being fire chief. The use of the funds can only be those related to activities, programs, and operating expenses of the department. They cannot go towards full-time employees, salaries. And this would allow for use and operation of that fund in the current fiscal year
And subsequent year.
and subsequent years.
Okay.
Then Article 5 is tied to that one, whereby you are rescinding the existing fire department fees, special revenue account, and approving those monies to go into the revolving fund that you just created by the general bylaw amendment. You'll notice though that I need to go through the old warrants to find the article number and the specific town meeting date. You can still close,
Yeah.
take your action. It's just a clerical thing. We do want to make sure that we do reflect when that revenue account was first created.
Mhm.
I also have the highlight on for the dollar amount, just in case there are some additional monies that are received beforehand. Before we print it, I will get the very final dollar amount from the accountant, just to make sure that we are moving everything. We don't leave like $50.
50 cents or
Yeah.
something. Oh, man. That would be so annoying.
Article 6. This is a request to transfer $8,400 and $8,426 from free cash in order to provide matching local funds towards a possible grant that we have applied for the town's comprehensive plan. We still have not received word on whether or not we've been awarded this grant. If we do not get awarded this grant, that money will sit there and just go back into free cash.
Okay.
The next article, this is to approve transfer of $6,553 from free cash in order to cover the costs associated with the enforcement of a dangerous dog order. We have removed all personal references from the article. It's not an important element. We simply have to acknowledge what the money was for, that it had to do with the dangerous dog order, what the total was, and that this is all during the current fiscal year, because we're not going to try to recoup from the previous fiscal year. We have no need to.
Yeah.
This dollar amount is the final dollar amount.
Okay,
Can I ask a question about Articles 6, 7, and 8, and perhaps others? We are voting to transfer from free cash. Do we say where we're transferring it to? Which this is to-
You're identifying the specific purpose. So the town accountant creates a separate line item.
Okay, so you identify the purpose and it's a
Yeah.
line item. Okay, excellent, thank you.
Article 8. This is the new article to approve the transfer of $13,500 from free cash to purchase the APR on 40.84 acres of farmland located at 269 River Road. currently owned by Jonathan and Justin Glenski. The state is in the process of securing that restriction. This is a voluntary program in order to help preserve a farmland within communities while also making it more financially feasible for the farmers to operate and continue that operation on the property.
So is this like Whately Center Woods where we would own the development rights? And we just choose not to exercise them, or?
No, this is that you're just holding a restriction, so essentially it limits the ability to utilize the property for other uses outside of farm uses.
Yeah,
Which I
It
guess
runs
is
with the land.
similar.
It,
It does run with the land,
so if
yes,
it gets
Right.
sold, this continues.
right.
exactly, yeah.
So, in the past, I don't remember, this came from CPA funds or like,
In the past, yes.
that CPA funds would be used, and here we're not gonna use CPA funds because it's,
Because it was never applied,
they never didn't apply.
nobody, the farmer did not apply for the money. Therefore, it didn't go through a CPA process for then the board to agree and for town meeting to say yes to use CPA, so we're kind of using free cash instead. But yeah,
Yeah.
typically we have in the past used CPA money.
And is this some money that would be, once we close the warrant and we get money back from ARPA, would we re-obligate that here? Or is, no, this is just free cash? Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me how this works, because I thought the state was appropriating the land, but we're paying for it. Tell me how that
Yeah,
all.
yeah. but
There's,
usually
we're
we
part of
just-
we're a contributing party in that,
In
so it is the
purchase.
state as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, right. No, I guess to me, it was like, yeah, it usually comes out of CPA.
It does,
But
right?
the, so I guess. I mean, I don't wanna mess up this transaction. But, and maybe it was on us for not getting it through, but they really should have applied to the CPA. For this, so I feel like I don't want other people to look at this and say, oh. Let's not bother with the CPA and so on, it just,
For free cash.
that, I think it's not a good precedent to have, and I guess I feel like the Supreme Court and Bush v. Gore, I'm not making a precedent out of this. But I sort of feel like it kind of, we're in a corner somehow, and maybe some of being in the corner is our own doing.
And so that's
And
looking back at what happened back then, and talking to a few different people. Normally, what I heard the process is when we receive word that somebody is applying to the state for an APR. The town receives notice. When the town receives notice, CPC also receives notice, and CPC then takes the initiative to reach out to the farmer or the property owner.
yeah,
And let them know, here's the process, here's what you can do, we have CPA money, this is what we would do. That broke down, the town administrator was transitioning out at the same time. So unfortunately, there was communication things that happened at that point that just resulted in these things not following the normal course.
yeah, okay, so, yeah, so some of it's on us, but some of it's on them too.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, CPA doesn't exist in every community, therefore, I don't know that the state necessarily tells a farmer or. I shouldn't
Right,
say farmer,
oh, no, I
property
understand,
owner.
I
Oh,
understand,
okay.
but I understand about that, but,
Yeah.
I just sort of feel like that's why I don't think this should be a precedent, because there is probably some blame for, the town side.
Oh, yeah,
That we should have, and the amount is not, it's not like a $50,000.
no,
And so we can
Next.
clarify it and explain it to the voting public when they're at the meeting. And this is why
Yeah.
this happened, and it's not a precedent. You will not make a precedent of letting things fall through the cracks.
it is our largest free cash request on the warrant, but
Yeah.
yeah, it
And
is,
it could be that people
Absolutely out of
will object to that,
yeah.
and if they do, I don't know what to do about it, other than that might delay their transaction until.
It could delay the transaction. There was also discussion from the state that they would reach out to one of the local land trusts to see if one of the local land
Like,
trusts
oh,
would
like-
put up the money.
like Franklin Land
help-
Trust or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I wanted to see if we could at least, as the community, try to get this moved through, but.
Yeah.
I should note too, this article, because because it's a brand new item, FinCom has not reviewed it yet, so we have to schedule a special meeting for FinCom to review this one article, but
Yeah,
so they have not taken an action on recommendation.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they say.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I'm, okay.
Article 9. This is a CPA appropriation. This is related to the Center School Historic Preservation. It's for 2 projects, both of which have to do with the center school. It's shoring up the structure, both with the roof replacement and structural support repair, but then also to perform a reuse feasibility study. There are 2 dollar amounts here. Both of these dollar amounts are based on monies that the town would need to put up as part of matching funds for the grants that have been applied for these 2 projects. Similar to the other grant that was referenced earlier, we have not received word if we have received this grant either.
And if we do not, the money will go back into.
Well, yeah, it would
The
remain in the
CPA.
CPA account.
Did we get any grants in relation to the center school? I feel like there was an announcement of some.
Yeah, I thought there was.
Yeah,
an announcement.
But it wasn't one of these, it wasn't like $100,000 to repair the roof or something like
No,
that.
it's a feasibility study.
But that's here, the reuse feasibility study is here. So that was my question. Maybe the reuse feasibility study is the thing
Right,
We did get a
that
grant.
came in a month or so ago.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
It did, yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
Judy said, wow, we got it.
Yeah.
She was
Oh,
really
okay.
excited about it, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so one
the
of
larger,
the larger one is one that we've not
Right.
gotten
But-
Yeah.
word
yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we can also let
Okay.
the voting couple.
oh, you're
know.
right, the reuse feasibility study, we had applied to National Historic
yeah,
Places through the Hart Foundation. Hart Foundation
Right.
did fund this one. It's the other project, which I think might have been a one-stop, but yeah, the other one. is the one.
Yeah, I think the other one is a one-stop
Yeah,
program.
Okay,
okay. The last 3 articles are the codification articles, the first one being the article for general bylaw codification. This one has some general revisions, basically cleaning up all references to MGL so that there's a standard format. Changing all references of select board to word selectmen, board of selectmen to the singular select board. And repealing a number of bylaws, and I'll go through that list of those bylaws. There are 7 bylaws that are being proposed to be repealed. The first one is Chapter 7, Building Code Board of Appeals, which was originally adopted by the town in 74. The chapter provides for an appointment of a town board to hear appeals relating to enforcement of the state building code pursuant to MGL 143, section 100, added in 1984. A building code board of appeals was established as part of the State Department of Public Safety, and all appeals relating to state building code are required to go through the state board. It is our understanding that towns can no longer have a local board to hear these appeals. So when it comes to building code, it doesn't actually go to your board of appeals because that's zoning board of appeals. So we still have an antiquated bylaw. So based on that 84 MGL item, we should remove this. If we're simply in conflict, you could leave it in, you'd just be in conflict and you would have a hard time upholding it, but the way to clean it up is to remove it.
so if there are appeals, they go to regional level, the state level?
It goes to the state level and then it only appeals to building code, not to zoning code, because that's a local authority.
So zoning.
Building code is on a state level,
Yeah.
therefore it falls to a state appeal process.
so we had adopted something in 74, which became obsolete 10 years later,
Yep,
and we have never repealed that in the past.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That actually makes sense. It's
Yeah.
not like we repealed it before and we need to repeal
No,
it again,
no,
but.
yeah, as I go through these, that's gonna be the true statement is that something happened And we never bothered to go and clean it up or repeal it, so now it's our time to take that opportunity and remove it. But
Okay,
you're right,
all right, because at the last meeting, I thought it was, these were all repealed,
yeah,
and then we gotta repeal them again.
no,
That
yeah.
didn't make any sense, all right, good.
Chapter 9, building inspector of the 88 code, which was adopted in 1987 by town meeting and then later amended in 92 by town meeting. The reason why this is being recommended to be removed is that because the town now participates in the FCCIP, it's recommended to remove this chapter. Reference to the FCC, that's the Franklin County Cooperative Inspectional Program, is now included in chapter 45, which is our chapter for Regional Council of Governments. Essentially, that previous chapter for building inspectors specified what the responsibilities are. That responsibility is not necessary since we fall under the FCCIP, which falls under their Council of Governments.
And we love them, we
Yes.
not, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. And I almost wanna keep that one, just in case we decide to
Just in
walk
case.
out.
Yeah. Right, just to get to like,
Okay, you know, we have talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
That, because we were really not getting good service from them, and, they were not actually dealing with the questions we asked them to deal with. They would just come in and do, like, that, you know, it was
Bare minimum.
Yeah,
bare minimum and not, helping address the actual concern, and so we, yeah,
and do we feel that has changed? Do you feel that has changed?
well, we haven't heard that much lately, but
I've had good and so-so interactions, but I
the
think,
alternative is to find someone, and that's hard.
Right, that's the
Yeah.
problem is
Yeah.
finding.
So the problem is finding someone, so it might be
Yeah.
that it's,
and you'd be looking at a part-time inspector.
or a shared position with.
Or shared, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But and that's difficult too,
I think
because,
that we should get a contractor who's like getting a little, the joints are getting tired, and someone who already knows the code, so they can, anyway.
Or a young and eager assistant from a larger city or something.
Yeah, maybe, okay,
similarly, chapter 26, gas and plumbing inspector, adopted by town meeting in 87. Same thing, because that falls under FCCIP, it's recommended to remove this chapter, because we have building, gas and plumbing inspection all through the CIP.
we're not gonna shred these articles, so if we ever withdrew from FCCIP, we could pull these out of the shredder.
Well, yeah, you'd have to go to town meeting and adopt a new
Reinstate
bylaw, yeah, a new chapter, but you could reuse the language or you'd likely wanna update it, but yes, yep. We have all the old copies,
Yeah.
and what's great about the codification is it does provide us the ability to see the previous version and what changed and why
Okay.
it changed.
Yep.
Which we don't have that in means right now.
Okay,
Chapter 80, fees, this article has not been revised, fees, which was adopted in 82 by town meeting. The article hasn't been revised since the original adoption in 82. The article was based on MGL chapter 262, section 34, which the town accepted under article 6 of the 2004 town meeting. 2005, the town then accepted MGL 4022F, which actually authorizes the clerk and other board and officers to establish fees, essentially overriding the need for the previous April 2004 town meeting. So when in 2004, they adopted that MGL chapter, they then town meeting then adopted the very next year, another chapter that actually allows the setting of fees outside of town meeting and instead through the board and the clerks. So the recommendation is to remove that.
I don't understand what the 88 code adopted, I understand it was adopted, but the fees of the 1988 code.
Yep.
I have no idea what that,
It's the town clerk fees. That chapter has to do with town clerk fees, which were
Okay,
in the 88
okay.
code.
the 88 code for town clerk fees.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the clerk and other boards establish their own fees. So we've actually accepted a law, and it sounds like we accepted a contradictory law.
Oh, yeah, so we accepted one, but then the next year we accepted another one that then authorized the clerks and the
Right.
boards to set fees outside of town meeting.
Yeah, so the one we accepted on the interim, like, it's not clear what that one does.
That previous one allowed us to be able to, through set town meeting, through legislative action, set fees. But then.
Okay, so
the
it doesn't
2001
actually say that out here, though.
Not in my explanation to you,
Right.
no, but if you pulled
If I pull
MGL
that,
262, 30, 34, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if we repeal chapter 80, fees of the 1988 code, so that's all one thing. Fees of the 1988 code. So
It's just,
we're
you're
only,
just,
we're only repealing the
Chapter
chapter 80.
Yeah.
We're not actually adopting
No.
this contradictory one, so we still have
no,
a.
because we have that, we don't need 80.
Yeah, but the third one is 34. MGLC 262,
We're not,
34.
yeah, we're not,
We're not
no,
adopting that. Is that
correct.
in conflict with
No, because,
C 40
no,
22F?
no, so Article 17 from 82. Oh no, accepted under Article 6 of 2004. I'd have to pull that, we're not, the action, it has nothing to do with what was done in 2004 or 2005, we're simply saying, we don't need 80 because of what you did in 2005.
Okay, I guess the part, and maybe my question is not important. But, I thought what you said was that this one ends with 34 and one ends with 22 are actually in conflict. One
They're not
of them
necessarily
says
in
the town-
conflict,
But the
it's
town
just
meeting
that,
has to set the town clerk's fees, and the other one says, no, the clerk is authorized to do that.
the most recent
The more
action
recent-
by town meeting is the one that controls. So that
Oh.
by adopting in 2005, chapter 4022F, that's the one that controls,
It,
and that's the
it
one
it
that.
supersedes
Correct.
this, but this was never technically repealed.
Yeah,
Should we just remove that middle sentence of the explanation because it seems to be floating?
we
This
can,
article
this
was
explanation
based
is
on-
just for you.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
This
Well,
was
it's
just,
confusing us.
yeah, it's just because you guys, we have talked about it would be
Right,
helpful if
we
you
asked.
had some
Yeah,
additional information of each one of these. It would not be in the warrant, though we can certainly have this to be able to read and
Mhm.
provide
Okay.
during the meeting. But yeah, it's not for warning.
right. And town council is good with all this.
Well, this is not going in the warrant, but they are in agreement
No,
that.
they're in
the
agreement
repeal-
about, and what's
oh, yeah,
in the
yeah.
warrant, that they say we just have to repeal chapter 80
Yes,
of the 1988 code. We don't have to repeal our acceptance of the sub-thing.
yeah, you did it. Not to move point because it's
We
not.
we don't
printed.
wanna repeal that.
Yeah,
Well,
That's what
the
was-
middle one, the
the
one.
middle one, she's referring to
Oh,
the
okay.
2004 action,
Right.
but we're talking about actions to the general bylaw itself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. All right,
Alrighty.
Chapter 88, Article 2, use of town gravel bank as disposal area, which was adopted in 1980 by town meeting. Similarly, chapter 88, Article 3, stump disposal facility, which was adopted in 1980, June of 1980. Both of these are irrelevant articles now because the stump dump facility has been closed. So we are referring to utilizing property that doesn't exist and cannot be used for that purpose anymore. So
Okay.
it would be to repeal those.
I think we
I-
should never have a gravel bank
And I
disposal
think-
area.
That was closed in 08. It was definitely in the aughts, but it's been a while that it's been closed, but the bylaws still exist. And then the final one is chapter 158 trailer parks, which was adopted by Article 3 in 1960. by town meeting. It should not be in the general bylaw because, we actually handle trailer parks, mobile home parks, all of that, that's handled in your zoning bylaw. So it's not necessary, and actually this bylaw is very antiquated, so we should repeal it, and land use of private land is handled through your zoning bylaw.
Okay.
Let's see.
And then renumber you.
Then in appendix A, there's a list of specific revisions through the general bylaw. Do you want me to go through those revisions in appendix A? It's on page
11 or something.
10, maybe, or 11.
Yeah, starting on page 10.
I'm happy to go through it if you'd like.
Yes, let's do it as quickly as we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
So within the Affordable Housing Trust Fund chapter, there's a reference to selectmen. It's changing it to select board member. The reason why this is called out because we referred to specific references to the select board. Here, we have to make a specific reference to a select board member, so that's why it's called out here. There's also a change from chairman of the board of trustees to chair of the board of trustees. Changing treasurer to the current title, treasurer collector. And then section 2A-10 is amended as follows. It's essentially replacing that paragraph with this paragraph. Upon termination of the trust, subject to the payment of or making provisions for the payment of all obligations, liability, and trust in the trustees, the net assets of the trust shall be transferred to the town and held by the select board, for affordable housing purposes, except that any net funds generated by 44B, and then it's striking which, it's just cleaning it up.
For grammar.
Yeah, for
The grammar police.
shall be returned to CPA fund.
Okay.
In chapter 3, it is striking activities and replacing that with farming traditions, so that it reads promote the business of farming traditions and farmland protection. It helps to clarify that the activities need to be farming related. Beach district. This is replacing chairman of the selectmen to chairs of the select boards for the 3 towns.
Okay,
Under the chapter 14 for CPC.
And before we move on, is Sunderland still involved with the beach?
Actually, it's not.
Right.
can we strike that? Or are we pining for them? We wanna leave the door open for them.
I mean, we could be leaving it, but I'd also wanna look at the rest of the beach district to see if there are any other references to Sunderland.
Oh,
This wasn't taken into consideration, that amendment, so that if you want to, we can. I just have to look at the rest of that chapter and see if there are any other Sunderland references.
And what if there are, either can we add them or strike this so we deal with all of them at the same time? Rather than strike one and then.
Oh, yeah, my recommendation is if the board says we agree to this article, but in appendix A, chapter 4, remove all Sunderland references, I'll go back and find and revise this appendix.
Right,
So
so
that
that as of
it
now,
works for you.
Sunderland has no role
Correct.
in the beach.
right, so if we're trying to update things, that would bring it up to date.
So chapter 14 CPC in 1B, striking councils, because we don't have councils, and then replacing who with that grammar reference, and then again striking council and replacing with committee, so that at the end it's commission, board, or committee shall become a responsibility of the select board. 1C is amended so that it reads, instead of their, it's his, her. In 2A, it's removing or replacing Department of Public Works with Highway Department to properly reference the department, the town's department. And then in 2F, it is adding in for clarity of the amounts so that it reads full understanding of the amounts and methods of such expenditures.
I want to go back to section 14-1C.
Mhm.
Why are we changing there to his, her, which is, I mean, it's possible that there will become more widely used. Why are we striking it for the binary choice?
I believe, let me look at the. One second.
It could just be the respective appointing authority. Cause I don't, like, by the respective appointing, see, I was still reading the whole sentence. Any member of the committee may be
I was
removed
just
for
reading one
cause
word.
by
The
So-
respective appointed authority.
the
That
respect,
makes
the.
sense.
I mean, maybe we don't have the rest of the article to look at, but
Well, what I wanted to do was, I was checking to see if we use, throughout the bylaw, we use he, she, and his, her. That reference was one time that there was a there, and so it was making it consistent with the other
Well, it's for
phrasing that we were
consistency.
currently using,
Right.
yeah.
But I don't even think I mean, the member of the committee might be a he or might be a she. But the respective appointing authority is usually not a he or a she. Right, you don't usually refer to.
Well, the his,
Oh,
her is
Because it's
possessive of the
ambiguous, should be
respective.
ambiguous.
Well, any member of the committee may be removed for cause by the respective appointing authority after a hearing. And the appointing authority might be a committee, might be the select board, might be
Yeah, I
the
like that.
moderator, might be the town administrator.
Well, no, I think what it is any member of a committee, so it's any member may be removed by cause by. The appointing authority that appointed them to the committee, so it is the person's appointing authority, so.
It's not the committee's appointing authority?
No, because the committee doesn't appoint members to itself.
No, but the appointing authority is not the same as the committee.
Oh, no,
The
you're
committee has
correct,
an appointing authority.
correct, but
The
it's saying
person
that,
doesn't have, the
but,
people on
but
the
the only
committee.
the only person, the only thing that can, remove somebody for just cause is the appointing authority, right? And the appointing authority appointed him or her to the committee, therefore it's his or her appointing authority.
I would say that the word
Like I
respective.
was appointed by.
I don't know why we need the word respective at all.
Yeah, I would say that the
And
word
I would say
respective actually.
by cause by the appointing authority.
Yeah, I mean, the appointing authority, yeah, and
But
take away respective.
I would take away
Oh,
there,
His, her.
his, her, and
Take away
respective,
possession.
and just say
Put
the appointing
Well, I
authority.
think if you say the respective
Yeah.
means the specific particular authority that appointed.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it's
not just-
ambiguous if you just say by the appointing authority
All right,
is whoever appointed the person.
all right.
And, yeah,
It's not any other.
respective is when you've got
authority.
like
I just
two
don't
things
see
and
why
you
that
just
word
want
is
to keep.
needed there.
To pad it out for legalese, make it
You
sound hard
get
to
three more, you
understand.
get three more syllables.
All right, so are we saying we like the appointing authority?
I think it's cleaner.
I think it makes more sense that
Yes.
way.
I can live with it. All righty,
one second. Let's see, right?
Yep.
I just need to make sure we also put it into the final draft too.
Mm.
So it reads the respective authority.
The appointing authority.
Just
the
the.
appointing.
Why is respective?
Oh, so we're striking respective?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't see what it adds.
Just syllables.
Right.
Any member of the committee may be removed for cause by the appointing authority after a hearing.
Right.
Okay,
We appointed you, we can get rid of you for cause.
um. 14A, that was the update from DPW to Highway Department. 2F was the inclusion of the amounts. And then the 14.3, it had a reference to MGL 39, section 23B, that's been updated, so it should be referencing chapter 30A, sections 18 to 25. And that's a reference to open meeting law.
And 39, section 3B, 23B is no longer the open meeting law.
I
Maybe
actually
it was. It
think,
might have been a
I think it
typo.
was a yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
chapter 18, Council on Aging. This one in 18.1, the text here is just cleaning it up because when the Council on Aging was first established, there was staggered terms until you had full terms, so that you had 1, 2, and 3-year terms, but now all members are at 3 years, therefore we don't need the staggering language anymore. So it updates the select board reference and then strikes all language with regards to terms so that it's just clean saying that the members have a 3-year term.
Okay.
5 is added, it's a new paragraph. The names, addresses, telephone numbers, or other identifying information about elderly persons in the possession of the council shall not be public records, but the use of these records shall comply with MGL 19A, sections 14 to 24, inclusive as a condition of receiving a government contract, program grant, or other benefit, or as otherwise required by law.
2 questions. 1, is there a definition of elderly someplace? And 2, why is it restricted to elderly and not any persons whose information is in their control?
Well, why would the Council on Aging have people outside of?
I don't know, but
Oh.
in case, but if they did happen to, for
Oh.
some reason, prospective members, I don't know.
Let's see.
Comes a question of whether someone whose information about who is arguably elderly, but not necessarily. I think it just makes it easier to take the word elderly out and
Right.
anyone whose information I have shouldn't be following.
Sorry, we have a 116 page editorial and legal analysis, so I'm just trying to find where that reference for this chapter is. Okay. It was a recommendation based on chapter 48B. Because we're accepting 48B, let me look at what that chapter says. So 8B is what establishes the ability for communities to create council on agings. So it says that, the town by bylaw may establish a council on aging for the purposes of coordinating or carrying out programs designed to meet the problems of the aging in coordination with programs of the Department of Elder Affairs. The council shall submit an annual report to the city or town and shall send a copy thereof to the Department of Elder Affairs. Said department shall from time to time review and evaluate such reports and make recommendations to any required or needed changes in said local programs. The council may appoint such clerks and other employees as it may require. The names, addresses, telephone numbers, or other identifying information about elderly persons in the possession of the council shall not be public records, but the use of these records shall comply with sections 14 to 24, inclusive of chapter 19A, as a condition of receiving a government contract, program, grant, or other benefit. So it's actually pulling the actual language from MGL chapter 40, section 8B, word for word. So Mass General Law is using the reference to elderly, which hopefully is then defined in Mass General Law, but that's where the elderly phrase is coming from.
Did you have a second question?
Well, no, it was the two questions. One is,
So point,
is elderly defined someplace, and two,
And what?
do we really need it?
so to the point.
Yeah.
We don't even have to have this paragraph even added because MGL already stipulates anyways. It's more of a reaffirming that they are not public records, but the town does not even have to add in this to make it compliant. It was just a way to make sure that we have it and we confirm to residents that we're not releasing information.
I think that makes sense to put it in.
Yeah, it is funny that they don't, I was looking at some of the other things, what's chapter 19, 14 through 24. And, I'm not finding anything relevant there.
Like
It's
defining elderly.
like defining elderly. Who Google might know.
Well, chapter 19, 14 to 24, I guess,
Has to private.
is about government contracts, not about.
Oh, no, it's about names, addresses, and phone numbers and what
Yeah,
you're allowed
I
to
think
do with
it's,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Public records or private, yeah.
I'm going to encourage us to move along because we have several more pages of bylaws to get through.
Great, okay, yeah.
Chapter 40, are we okay? Sorry.
Yeah.
43 rec commission, similar to the earlier one, this is also taking out the staggering language regarding term length. So that it simply reads that the commission members shall serve without compensation and shall be residents of the town of Whately. Members shall be appointed to serve for 5 years. 47 schools, this is amended with one additional sentence saying that subsequent amendments accepted by the town are on file with the town clerk. This has to do with provisions of agreements that establish the Franklin County Technical School District. So, excuse me, just confirming that anytime that there is an amendment and subsequent amendments, that there will be with the town clerk. Chapter 62, adult establishments. It's correcting the phrasing of building commissioner to building inspector. Chapter 65, animals, article 1. The licensing period has been updated so that it states that the dog and kennel license year shall begin on June 1st and end on May 31st of the following year. And then it updates the fees so that duplicate tags are $1 instead of 50 cents. Transfer license is $2.50 instead of $1. And then amending the language where it would have said if it does not exceed $50, if it does not exceed $100, essentially catching up dollar amounts that have not been changed. And then
And
sorry.
really, we have like fees that are in the bylaws? Didn't we take care of that on the other one where
that had to do with town clerk fees, but you have a special article related to dogs where those, we'd have to go and remove that section as well. This just had to do with general fees in the clerk office, the earlier article.
so really, we have to amend our bylaws every time we wanna raise the fees. for-
Yep.
Are you sure? Don't, maybe duplicate tags should be $10. Transfer license should be 25, and then we don't have to hit this for another.
Subsection C is, replacing the phrase revolving fund for dog licensing and control with the correct name, which is dog licensing and animal control revolving fund. It's just really just swapping it.
Yeah.
And then, 65.9, this is a wholesale replacement. And it's just updating it so it reflects Mass General Law. It is the verbatim language from the MGL.
Question, the license year being changed from April 1 to June, and why is it June 1 to May 31st? And not tracking with our fiscal year?
That I don't know. This was based on the clerk's current process, but I'm not sure
Okay, I'm
why.
just-
Yeah,
Curious that
yeah, I'm
it
not
doesn't
sure.
fall in line with the fiscal year as long as we're changing it.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe,
Thankfully, the revolving fund collection of fees aren't tied to, because it's a revolving fund, so they go in there. Other than
Yeah.
expending from the revolving fund, they're not controlled by fiscal year.
yeah, maybe it's good to have some things not synced with this fiscal year, so they don't
Yeah.
get done.
Right, I'm not
Just
sure
curious.
why, yeah. Chapter 95 hazardous waste, Article 1 radioactive waste. No land within the town of Whately. It removes the use district of the town of Whately.
They don't have one.
There, exactly, yep. Article 2 hazardous materials, it's correcting it to the current CMR reference, so it's CMR 1. And both of those two references there. In 95.5, definition of discharge is amended so that instead of it saying Massachusetts Department of Public Works, it's the current phrase, which is Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Similarly, the 9510A item 2, this is removing the reference to the Office of Incident Response. Instead, it needs to be Massachusetts Department of Environment, DEP, Department of Environmental Protection and Emergency Response, and their current phone number, which should the phone number ever change, we'll have to go back in the
They're doing it in the
bylaw.
bylaws.
And then 9513B, any person who violates any provision of this article may be subject to the punishment of by a fine of $300. So it doesn't leave it up to or not more than 100. It just says the fine will be $300. But again, it's amending the fine and now setting it at a specific dollar.
So someone can dump hazardous waste and pay a fine $300 and be done.
Now, the remediation will be a lot more than $300.
Well, I mean, I think our fine for littering is 500. So why is this one less?
I don't know.
I mean, is 300 set by MGL?
I don't believe so.
Like, who decided $300?
Let me see. This was which chapter 95?
Yeah, 9513D.
Let's see. Oh. It is per MGL chapter 40, section 21.
Wow,
I think we can hit them with littering at the same time.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
exactly.
Yeah, they're-
Yeah,
$800.
if they're
I
disposing waste,
remember
they're
when
littering.
when
Yes.
we raised littering was such a, well, it's probably still such a problem, but
Mhm.
we raised it so that if you got caught, there was 500.
yeah, the very end of what it does, that particular section actually says it shall not be less than $100 and not more than $300. So you actually, the MGL gives you a range of 100 to 300, and the recommendation was just to put it at the maximum. But yeah, you probably could tack on additional.
Littering.
Yeah.
Littering.
Chapter 113, non-criminal disposition. updating that list of fees so that it says regulations for refuse and recycling collection rather than trash hauler licensing regulations. First offense is a warning, second offense is $100, third offense and all subsequent offenses being $250. Let me look up why we're reducing them.
And what would
It
be?
sure sounds like the state mandated it
Yeah,
because of lobbying from the trash hauling industry
Yes, it
Or
looks
the
like it
refuse and
is.
recycling collection industry.
or whatever. They've renamed themselves, yeah.
and what would the offense be?
Yeah.
It would be the refuse and recycle collection industries offense, or a private citizen's offense for. Both things.
But yeah, that does have to do with MGL. It points to chapter 133 as well as the sanitation standards set by the state. Where we are the enforcing authority, but it's set by the state.
113 or 133?
133.
It says
This says one,
chapter 113.
section 113.
Yeah, that's section,
Our chapter.
well, no, that's our our section
Oh,
113.
God,
Right, not-
Yeah,
not-
I was referring to chapter
Thank you.
in MGL, yeah.
Read that.
And this is like, as if someone is no longer, we don't call them trash haulers. We call them recycling collectors. But when recycling collectors, what kind of offenses are they doing? Like, not really picking it up and just kind of letting it fall out of their truck, or like, I suppose
We can get them for littering too.
we can get them from littering, that's for sure.
Warning and $500.
Let's see, refuse and recycling. Okay, so this whole article or chapter 113 has to do with the Board of Health regulations. And 113.2 is scope specific penalties. Without intending to limit the generality of the foregoing, it is the intention of this provision that the following bylaws, rules, and regulations are to be included within the scope of this article. And the specific penalties as listed here shall apply in such cases. Each day on which any violation exists shall be deemed a separate offense.
Oh, so this is if somebody's,
Who is
But what-
violating and getting
And
penalized?
what are the violations?
Yeah, so 113, section 1, any bylaw rule of the Board of Health, the violation of which is subject to a specific penalty may be at the discretion of town officials if the appropriate enforcing person to be who is the appropriate enforcing person be enforced in the method provided in MGL chapter 40, section 21D. The non-criminal fine for such violation, if not otherwise specified, shall be 50. Enforcing person as used in the bylaw shall mean any member of the town of Whately Board of Health, its health agent, its Board of Health designee, if more than one. That does not help us tell who. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is,
there's got regulations they can enforce. The
yeah,
people on whom they would be enforcing them could be refuse and recycle collection folks. And so whatever their regulations are
yeah,
for refuse and recycling.
because it was
collection.
trash hauler before, it's specifically those who are hired to do that.
Mhm.
It's not a general populace
It's
throwing the
not
bag of
me.
trash on the side of the road.
Right.
That would fall under probably littering.
We like littering.
It all comes back to littering, yeah.
So unfortunately, it doesn't define it, but, yeah,
Okay.
it's just
Alright.
broad in relation to the collection.
All right, well, I guess we're not gonna get those cushy $300 third offenses anymore.
113.2B, this is again just updating the title, from youth tobacco access regulations to regulation restricting the sale of tobacco products and nicotine delivery products. Because
Because
it's just in general, there are restrictions for all ages.
Right.
113.2C, environmental tobacco smoke regulations are changed to regulations prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places.
Okay.
133, recycling. The phrase except EXCEPT is added so that it reads, it shall be a violation of this chapter for any unauthorized person except employees of the town or contractors hired by the town to collect or pick up or cause to be collected or picked up any recyclable material. Basically, without the except phrase, if the town hires somebody or the town picks up recyclable material or collects it, we would have been in violation. It's just to say that actually anybody that's contracted by the town or is the town has the ability to pick up recycling.
Okay,
149, stretch energy code. This is simply to amend the title from stretch code to stretch energy code. It was missing the energy. 150, taxation, correcting the phrase of tax collector to treasurer collector. 153 is amending it by adding in a sentence, or portion of a sentence. The licensing authority may deny, revoke, or suspend any license or permit, including renewals, transfers of any party whose name appears on said list furnished by the licensing authority from the treasurer collector. Now, or with respect to any activity, event, or other matter which is the subject of such license or permit, and which activity, event, or matter is carried out or exercised, or is to be carried out or exercised on or about real estate owned by any party whose name appears on said list furnished by the licensing authority from the treasurer collector. So specifying here with additional clarity when that activities, whether it's gonna be or it has been permitted, has to be on this list. And I think, let me pull up, that was what chapter? 150. This sounds like it's also a copy paste from MGL, so let me just find it.
thanks for
It sure reads like it.
the,
It
like,
does.
how do I get my name off this list?
Right,
Or-
exactly.
How does one get their name on?
The
this?
article is based on MGL chapter 40, section 57, so yeah, it's coming from, the Mass General Law,
57,
chapter
chapter 40.
40, section 57, yep.
But I guess because it's out of context, a lot of our questions are really about the context.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is about suspension or failure to pay municipal tax. So people who are on this list are a list of people who have not paid their taxes.
Yes,
Oh.
Ah,
and that's the licensing
I was,
authority.
yeah, and
So the
I,
license authority may deny any of those licenses to or a permit if they're on delinquency of paying taxes.
see,
Or with
yeah,
respect to any activity, event, or matter which is subject to such license.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I just,
it's a lot of legal.
We
I
understand.
know, like this list, I'm like.
What
just-
list is it? Yeah.
Like, this is not the Homeland Security list, which has got like John Smith written down like that.
TSA paycheck.
The TS, yeah, it's not TSA pre. Okay, all right,
Okay,
that makes perfect sense.
okay.
That you don't give permits to people who aren't paying their taxes.
Section 155-5 is amended because that A reference in the MGL chapter 268 was missing. It was referencing the incorrect chapter. It should have been 268A. And then 150-6, we do not have bicycle permits, so this is removing
Thank
that
God.
reference.
You've been writing mine.
Yeah, I didn't know I was a scofflaw.
And then finally, chapter 168, water supply. This simply is to add the word supply so that it reads public notice of a state of water supply conservation shall be given under section 168-7 of this bylaw. It's just greater clarity that it's not, it has to do with our water supply. That is Appendix A, so we'll go back now to Article 11. Article 11 is the codification article for the zoning bylaw. This references that it's for the purposes of renumbering sections and subsections, inserting article and section and subsection titles, and updating the internal references to reflect any new numbering and formatting throughout the zoning bylaw. And then Article 12 is also part of the codification process, but it's specifically a zoning bylaw amendment. So this is similar to the general bylaw, where any references to MGL are standardized in the new format. Any references throughout the zoning bylaw of Board of Selectmen, or Select Board as two words are changed to singular Select Board. Any term of zoning bylaws is revised to zoning bylaw. And the terms of Board of Appeals and zoning board are replaced with zoning board of appeals so that it's consistent. Anytime the phrase licensed is used to describe an engineer, it's amended to read registered, so that instead of licensed engineer, it'll be read as registered engineer. And then there are specific revisions that are outlined in Appendix B, which I can go through if you'd like.
Blessedly shorter. For Appendix A.
So the first one is or updating section 171-3, which lists all the established districts. The bylaws include planned industrial district and a wireless communication services district that when they were adopted, they never updated this particular list of districts. So it's just adding them to the list of districts, but it's not changing the regulation.
Yeah, we don't actually have a district for either of those.
They're not actually mapped, but we have a chapter about them. And so since we have chapters about the different districts, you should have a similar to a table of contents.
Right,
It's essentially just updating the
Yeah.
table reference of the districts.
okay,
171-8. The table of regulations was originally attached to the chapter, but now it's in the section. And then in the table, the entry under light industrial uses, which read aerial incineration, storage, disposal, collection, or treatment of low, medium, or high levels of radioactive waste is removed from that item.
Meaning that we don't allow it?
Correct. Anytime that a use is not within the use table, it is deemed not permitted.
Okay,
consistent with the earlier change.
yes. No littering.
171-11A, item 5, accessory uses. It's amended so that instead of saying the Institute for Traffic Engineers, it says Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is the current phrase for that group and the manual. In 171-13B, item B, the reference of site plan reviewing board is corrected to planning board. The planning board is the site plan reviewing board, so rather than jump back and forth, it's just referencing the planning board. The next item, this is anything from, or the sections 171-15B9C and 26D3E, changing soil conservation service to natural resources conservation service. It's just an updated phrase. The next two items for 20B6 and 23H is correcting the CMR references and also making the phrasing consistent. One time we had the state of environmental code was properly referenced and the other one was missing it. It's just making them consistent and
Okay,
the correct CMR. 25B5. It's clarifying what A&R is because A&R was not specified yet in the chapter, so A&R stands for approval not required. So it's just clarifying that. Next item, it's adding the correct CMR reference, which is 15 for cluster development. The next one, there's a reference here for what used to be called the Department of Communities and Development. That's been changed a few times. The new change or the new name of that office is Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And then the correction of the chapter 40B is corrected to the standard MGLC 40B.
And we set this so it automatically amends the next time we change that department. And
Yeah, right.
You can have that, yeah.
Or and its successors.
Correct, yes, that is standardly what's put in, and it may be that it read it, it's just, now that we know and we're going through a cleanup, it's correcting it.
Yeah, 10 years from now, when you're going through this with the next,
Right.
with our successors, then,
3 governors down and we'll have a new name for it.
there we go.
This next item, it's changing the reference of Mass Department of Public Works to Department of Transportation. 30G, again, updating the treasurer reference to treasurer collector. This next item is amending a change so that instead of it reading approved by the department, it's to approved by the Department of Environmental Protection, specifying what department was the approval authority. Here, 171.32F, this is amending it so that this is just cleaning up the phrasing for front yard and rear setbacks, so that it's front, side, and rear yards.
Yeah.
It's just a weird grammatical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one, amended so that instead of it reading these bylaws, it's this bylaw because it's the zoning bylaw. 47, this one is simply here because at the time this was drafted, the control bylaw removal had not been approved by the AG. We just found out today that the AG did approve that chapter, so I'll be able to remove this sentence, because that reference is gonna be gone anyways, because that bylaw doesn't exist now.
So the one of these is not gonna be in appendix B.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And then 171.48. This is just changing it and removing the specific section references in that CMR so that it just leaves it open to the 78 CMR. And that is everything.
That's your warrant.
This one is a real tedious one. So I apologize in advance to people who come. And,
Everybody has as many questions as we do.
yeah,
Tedious.
Well, so we leave us with this, so they don't have to.
that's right, yeah, I guess. But in some of these, I also feel like I was just beaten down by, like, whatever, by MGL or by, like, what?
With respect to any
like,
activity,
in this
event or
case,
other
we
matter
have
which
to,
is the subject of
like,
such
repeal
license or
first and then make a new one, and other cases you
Yeah.
don't, it's just, I'm trusting a lot in council. That they
Yes.
actually knew what they were doing when they went through this, cause I don't have a law degree. And everything sort of makes sense, like, there's nothing here that I think is dangerous,
There's
trying to
very,
get
there's very little, if any, substantive changes.
Mhm, mhm.
except for the respective, I'm really glad we got that out.
Yes.
It's a thorn in my side.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
got that.
so to move along, we could either vote to close the warrant tonight, or we can let it simmer and close it at the October 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion?
Well, do we do that first, or do
You
we
need to do
decide?
recommendation,
Oh, we need to do
recommendation?
recommendations, yes, thank you.
unless you wanna wait as well.
No.
but-
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, I don't have any problem
Article one.
recommending any of these, but I certainly don't think I can explain any of these.
Oh, come on.
Article 1,
I'll
approve
coach
bills
you.
of prior fiscal
Sorry,
years. Do
the
we
appendix A
recommend?
and B.
And do
Yeah,
we need to,
I would move that we recommend all the articles.
I'll second that,
And I mean, I go,
with changes
This is subject
as
to
discussed.
Yeah.
changes as discussed.
I'll second that with changes as discussed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I, And the only meaningful things are like the Sunderland or the,
Well, that's the question. The open question about whether or not we remove Sunderland from that, the beach chapter. You know what, I can, let me pull up the full.
cause I mean,
code.
we're modernizing it and Sunderland hasn't participated since, I don't know, year 2 or something.
So Sunderland does appear. 1, 2. There's only, it's just twice in 4-1, so I would just have to add in a reference to 4-1 to strike Sunderland twice. Nope, it's in 4-1 and 4-2. So it would just be, we already read the 4-2.
Yeah.
It's just adding in text in that
Yeah.
in the appendix to reference 4-1 and show a strike through a Sunderland there.
I mean, it does seem like so many of these things are just housekeeping and
Mhm.
it seems silly to not take care of that other one.
Yeah, we know it's there.
There is an editor's note in the actual final code that says at a special town meeting held 7/11/68, the town of Whately accepted the withdrawal of the town of Sunderland from the Tri-Town Beach District as voted by the town of Sunderland at their special town meeting on 6/12/68. So there's a reference to it, and it acknowledges it, it just doesn't actually remove it from the bylaw.
Well, then let's,
Is 68 the year?
1968, I shortened the phrase.
Yeah, no, I
6/12/68,
was just like, that's a
1968.
long time ago.
I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
it sure does seem like.
Out of there.
Get them out of there, we look like we're pining for them, and we're not on the beach, I mean, we're not, we're
But
sitting next to the
my
phone, waiting for them to
only-
call and join our tri-town beach.
my only caution would be, we'd wanna look and see if Deerfield amended their.
Oh, we're
general
not
bylaw
gonna wait for
reference.
them.
No, I'm just saying though, but if there's a. Not that we have to wait, but what if they
What if
do
there's a
keep it
conflict?
in their.
And that's their problem.
Or what if, well, if Sunderland does want to,
Then we-
Whately has to accept them back into it and
Right.
then
Yeah.
just at the same time amend the
Right.
bylaw.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter.
I don't know if you can just,
There's so many,
in that area, because you also want to change the chairs of the select board to say, you know, all references
Yes.
to Sunderland in chapter 4 shall be removed.
Yeah, well. I'll get it, as long as you vote that that's what you wanna do, I'll make sure the
Yes, I
language
think
is
we will
correct.
vote that we want all references to Sunderland removed.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's,
the Tri-Town Beach section.
And otherwise, we have recommended all of the articles in the warrant. Do we want to close the warrant?
is there any advantage to keeping it open, you can make those changes?
the only thing that I'm thinking of is. Since FinCom hasn't made a recommendation on that one article. Are you okay with recommending a favorable action on the APR funding if FinCom
Yes,
does unfavorable?
Yeah,
If you're okay with that, then there is no reason to leave it open.
I will entertain a motion to close the warrant.
so we close the warrant subject to the changes that we made. Or subject,
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Phew. Congratulations. New business, November election. Review, discuss, and vote to sign the election warrant for the November 5th, 2024 election.
I read through it, it looks. I don't see anything that they missed.
Mhm.
Say, I would move that we sign the warrant for
second,
the election.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye. And do you have a copy for us to sign, a specific
I don't
copy?
have a copy.
I have a copy here.
Yeah, if you want to use
sign
that copy, yeah.
We all sign it.
Given under our hands this 8th day.
Of October. You first gonna be. That's for the
The,
warrant, the thick one. for town
Yeah.
meeting warrant. Okay, and that's a signature page.
Yep.
Which you'll pass around.
Want to pass it out now?
sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I'll leave and forget to sign it.
Yay, it's not just me.
Okay,
That appointment of workers, and we appoint the slate of workers is submitted by the town clerk.
I have one question. Are
Okay.
these in addition to poll workers that she already has? Because I thought I was signed up and so were two of my neighbors.
I believe the appointment is per election, so I think it's. Yeah, you're appointing the poll workers specifically to act during the elections on November 5th, so you're doing it based on.
But it wasn't there another one where like, this is like a second set of poll workers for that same election.
Because I had signed up and told
I
her I
believe
would do
we've
it over
already-
there.
I thought you did that for the primary.
No, I did it
Oh.
for
Oh, you did it for
both.
both?
So do I need to be on this list, and do my two neighbors who also said they would do it need to be on this list?
I thought this was an updated list. She just sent this to us, so I'm confused why.
Yeah,
Yeah, I responded to her the other day and said I'll be there, but she sent out something that had, if you had, she sent out a spreadsheet that said, please confirm that you will be able to do it. If your name is not highlighted on the spreadsheet, you have not been confirmed. I was highlighted, so I was confirmed. but
Yeah, I think
wrote
this
to
is
her
a supplement,
anyway.
this is supplementary, that just.
Well,
This is supplementary.
Yeah.
I think
We
if it's,
approved
well, we should
some.
probably, is that something you can check on to make sure that this is a supplementary list and that there's some others?
Absolutely.
and even if we have to go back
And
off
add,
the October 22nd
Yeah.
meeting, we have
Yeah.
that opportunity.
yeah.
So why don't we
Or if there are others that come forward.
approve this
Let's approve
list?
these folks, yep,
So I move we approve this list of
election.
I'll
election
second
workers.
that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Looks like she's got a nice big team, which is.
Yeah, Twisted Arms at the fall festival.
Yeah, did you have people?
Well, I see two of their names on here,
Yep,
so yeah.
I got somebody too.
It's supposed to be an official list then.
I believe it.
Yeah.
For sure we approve. People.
Okay, so, little flag policy, review, discuss and vote on proposed flag policy. We don't necessarily need to vote on it tonight.
No,
Uh,
so this policy is primarily based on the policy that the town of Amherst uses. Essentially, when you get down to it, all it says is that any, the raising of any flag on town-owned or town-maintained properties will only be of governmental purposes. They're not there for, free speech
It's not a
purposes.
free speech.
Yeah,
that's
it's not
right.
free speech.
Yeah. And I had a quick question about commemoration.
Yep.
I would imagine that Whately 250th would have been a commemorative sort of thing. Do we commemorate things like Mother's Day and Veterans Day and well, what other occasions
You
do you
could,
know of that? Like, so someone wanted to put up a Mother's Day flag the week of Mother's Day, we could
you
consider
could.
that, we wouldn't have to, but
Well, you could, but that would be what falls under item number 2. So the select board shall consider display of Confederate flags only if the request
Yeah.
is made by a member of the select board through a resolution, proclamation, commemoration, or citation. So you could,
Yeah.
yes.
So, okay,
That would be your time to determine, is this a free speech request or is it a simple like commemoration of a holiday type of thing?
Yeah.
Or.
And then they have
Or
to be
event,
willing to
or-
purchase a flag.
yeah, you gotta provide the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone, if you're,
I'm curious what in section 3, item 1, under 5, flags displayed in conjunction with official ceremonial positions of the town. What is that? What is an official ceremonial position of the town?
I believe that it just had to do with like departments or subsections of the town. Or that I don't know is from the Amherst language, but we could strike it. If
I
it's
would-
confusing.
it
Um,
does seem kind of,
It seems vague.
yeah,
From what I recall, did we all attend that Zoom meeting, a Zoom presentation about flag policy, or was it just me and Brian?
that might be your right.
What I understood was the simpler the better. The more you get into language that could be vague, the more somebody can come in and say, well, you know, we're from so-and-so and we want to put up a flag in your town and there's nothing that says that we can't. So the less blah, blah, blah we have, the better. I would move that we strike that bit. If we need even a motion at this, we can just discuss, right?
yeah,
I'd be fine, cause
Yeah, that's fine.
I can't figure out what an official ceremonial position is in the town.
I also am not certain that we need flags of local, state, or national sports teams.
yeah.
You know, I don't wanna be arbitrating the Jets.
Yeah, right? And I don't think we have a sister city.
But you could.
Well, we might.
Well, we could, I've always wanted a sister.
Could.
Well, for that matter. Commemorative.
So we're.
Like, I could almost like strike 2, 3, and 4 there.
Mhm.
Which
Like,
the select board shall consider.
or the whole, like 2, 3, 4, and 5 even.
I think 2 is there. If we should ever get a visit from.
A dignitary.
Yeah.
Dignitary.
General requests will not be actionable. How? We sometimes post, flag, POW flags, don't we? Have I seen?
Have we? I don't know.
Why do I feel like I've seen them in the center of town? Have I not?
I don't,
And I don't know if that's.
It
a
might have
commemorative
been
flag.
at the post office and that would not be under the jurisdiction of the town.
Okay.
That would be the post office.
But to that point, you could, under item 2, a select board member could recognize or request through a resolution, recognize the POW. And then fly under that resolution or proclamation, maybe you proclaim that February is POW recognition. So essentially you're saying that you could still do it under the current structure or under the policy structure. Yeah, I just don't know if you do. And obviously, although this sets up the ability to fly all these different flags, it doesn't require, so like, right now, we only have the American flag, we do not have the mass or even the town flags out on our flagpoles, we only have the American flag, but it's not saying that you're required to now put up these flags.
yeah, I guess my main discomfort is with. What's commemorative
Mhm.
and when does that when two selectmen agree something is commemorative,
And
that's when it's,
doesn't.
and only, you could have all three, but when two selectmen agree something is commemorative, then it's commemorative. And that, I don't know, that's,
Actually, this language, I think could be read to read, does not give the select board,
well,
discretion. I mean, it says commemorative flag refers to these things. Does the select board have discretion to deem something else a commemorative flag?
no, if, I mean, number two, if there's some flag that isn't really commemorating anything, a select board member could form a resolution to say, hey, we
Mhm.
wanna fly, I want to fly this
Well, yeah,
commemorative flag,
but,
and one other selectman has to agree with them. And that
but
flag
what
can
if
be
that
flown.
flag is not authorized in section, it's not a deemed an
Well, I
appropriate
think that's
commemorative flag in section 1?
Pete was just saying is that if we wanted to fly a POW flag, we would make a resolution, proclamation, commemoration, or citation, and say that that is a commemorative flag.
Right, it doesn't have to be listed in one
Yeah,
to be a commemorative flag, that could be, you know, and.
Are you sure about that? Because it says a commemorative flag refers to, and then sets definite things. It doesn't say, or any other flag which the board deems to be a commemorative flag.
Or any flag, yeah, any flag approved by item 2 or, right? Is
Right,
that-
but
Okay,
section 1
so-
doesn't say that at this
well,
point.
it does say the decision to approve or deny a select board member's, yeah, okay, I'm sorry,
But it shall be considered
I'm
display of
running
commemorative
over
flag.
section
A
1.
commemorative flag is defined in 1.
Right.
And does not,
Well, so a select board member couldn't come in with some like crazy, I don't know, my son made this tie-dyed flag, isn't it great? Shouldn't we fly that commemorating, whatever it's commemorating?
well, I'm
That-
saying
that would
that
not
it's
be-
not,
that-
it's not clear.
That wouldn't fly
That
in,
the select board has the right to, on the fly, pardon the pun.
oh,
uh,
puns intended.
So are you thinking then,
I don't know what I'm thinking, I'm just saying that I'm looking at the language and saying that it defines a commemorative flag. And doesn't necessarily leave discretion to the select board.
But two seems to
go on.
leave discretion to the select board.
Well, that's why then, that,
but maybe the easiest thing to do is in item 1, remove that entire second sentence. So that the a commemorative flag refers to, just remove all of that, so that it's section.
Then it's really
then-
vague.
Then it's really vague. I almost.
well, no, then I think it's not vague, it's just not prescribed as it is now.
Actually, that, I'm warming up to your, like, the commemorative flag is not something we have to fly. But it kind of, the first one defines what they are, and it says the select board may authorize the display of a commemorative flag. And then, but doesn't mean we just go out there, that to fly a flag of a government recognized by the United States, the United Nations, or sister cities, we actually have to have a meeting, somebody has to make a proclamation.
That
But
we're gonna
all
fly
I'm saying
one of
is
those
by
flags.
defining it as those
Yeah.
3 or 4 or 5 things. Are you precluding defining it, the select board taking action to define it as something else?
I hope
think-
so.
I hope so,
Well.
because then I don't have to worry about like a Mother's Day flag and a,
Yeah,
Well, no, I mean,
you know.
you only have to worry about that if the select board approves it.
well, if 2 of the 3 members
Right.
of the select board approve it, and we might not always agree on what
Right.
should be flown, and
Yeah.
things can change.
Yep.
I'm of, well,
I think we give this some more thought, 'cause I
Yeah.
don't think this language is.
And I can
It's not-
bring a very simple version.
bring in a
to-
very concise one, let's look at that, yeah.
Okay.
The concise the better. All right, winter maintenance, review, discuss, and vote on snow clearing agreements. We have snow clearing agreements for Chestnut Plain Road sidewalks and specified buildings.
So, yeah, the town has been doing, these 2 separate agreements for the past 3 years now.
Yeah.
The agreements that you have in front of you are exactly the same as last year at the same exact rates, only the time frame has changed. The both providers have agreed and we've been happy with their services. So if the board agrees as well, you can authorize me to then sign off on those agreements.
I would move we authorize Pete to sign off on these agreements.
Second,
Snow clearing on Chestnut Plain Road and snow clearing is specified town roads.
I seconded, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 That was fast. Administrator updates.
You want me to go first?
You.
Well, you're
Okay.
not administrator.
Liaison.
Oh, am I on it?
Liaison.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah, what
have
about the liaison updates?
They're not in the,
Well, because I don't have the updates for you. You
Select
do.
board liaison.
It says yours.
That's my report, yeah.
Liaison updates. Here, I'll go first. Let's see, did I update last time after meeting with Cindy, the librarian, or
I
was
don't-
I meeting with her the
I
following
think
day?
you were gonna be here the next day.
Okay, we discussed use, pursuant to our discussion last time of the digital equity plan. Cindy and I discussed what computer needs they have. They have only really one computer in, the library, and it's used maybe once or twice a week. It was updated fairly recently. It would need to be probably updated again in another 3 to 5 years. She's interested in using some of their ARPA funds. Is their money separate?
They've used up their, well, where's that spreadsheet? I thought the library already finished
They
up
already
all their,
finished off theirs?
Yeah, I don't think they've been.
Yeah,
No, it says ongoing, library computer.
oh, yeah,
yeah, she's
They
interested
spent
in
about half, it looks like.
using some of that, to look at either having Chromebooks for lending or digital hotspots for lending, but she's first gonna try to do, a survey of users at the library and see who would use what.
Hmm.
The water department.
I did, before we
yes.
leave,
Yes,
that be sure Cindy knows that that money needs to be
yes, I did,
committed before the
I
end of the
did say
year.
you have to commit it before the end.
But we committed it already. She's gotta spend it all.
She has to spend
Well,
it
she has to have it, she doesn't have to spend it, she has to have it committed
to
Yeah.
Oh,
some,
no,
to a specific.
to a
we
specific.
have to have it committed. I don't know if she has to have it committed.
she has to have like an agreement for purchase.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
There has to be a
A
contract
contract
or,
eventually signed by.
or equipment purchase.
Yeah.
And I did basically, I did say that. All right, water department. Sorry, hang on, let me bring this up. They were looking at, they set a rate for folks who want to have both, drinking water and sprinkler water. Sprinkler as in home fire suppression
Oh.
systems
Yeah.
at their houses. They would add a second, they would have a fee for adding a second line for fire
Oh.
suppression. We had folks come in from Stiles Company, which provides the digital reading equipment for the meters. And they were kind of hung up, they buy their equipment from Badger, who was hung up by the pandemic, and could not get the equipment that the water department had purchased and signed a contract for like 3 or 4 years ago, and has been since pestering Stiles for. The representatives from Stiles came in and were very informative and very apologetic, and offered a different set of equipment at no cost. That would
No
be
additional.
No, it is.
no additional cost, that would be the same thing, and the water department, and we were happy with that.
Oh, I'm glad that's happened.
Yes, I know, we were like, no cost, right? No additional cost? Yeah.
Yeah. It does all the same things.
Mhm.
All right,
I have nothing new as far as.
oh, okay.
Okay.
South County Senior Center chugging along. There's sort of two main things. One is we want to go forward with changing our structure to consortium. We are at the point of trying to collect more input from town administrators. Pete's already looked at the agreement and made good comments on it. The town administrators in Sunderland and Deerfield are interim. So it's not clear how soon they'll really get back to us, because they're, for whatever reason. But what we are hoping is that we change to a consortium agreement, it'll be something on the annual town meeting. More, because it's a new agreement and, to me, the main two things that it would do is it would expand the Board of Oversight to a Board of Directors. The Board of Directors would still have a select board member or their representative. So that if, I don't know, if somebody were to step off of this board and they still wanted to be on the Board of Oversight, the select board could appoint them, or, a member of the Council on Aging from each town would also be, so you have a Board of Directors 6. I think it's the right time to get more input from councils on aging. And council on aging, if someone really wanted to get on, it's pretty easy to get on. You can't have your name on that list apparently, but. It would,
To be elderly? Sorry.
to be on the council on aging, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. You just have to be advocating for the elderly. That's one thing. And then side by side, there's this feasibility study going on. And we are at the point where we had some big picture numbers and calculations made for a site in Whately, a site in Deerfield, and a site in Sunderland. The board on Saturday recommended that we have to go down to 2 sites. That's what we paid for, to get detailed information about a better projected cost for the particulars of the places. And we did the grown-up thing and we made a decision instead of trying to put it off. And we are recommending that we go forward with the Whately and Deerfield sites for more information and drop the Sunderland site. And that was a hard decision. Our decision isn't final, I don't think, but I do believe the people who are administering that grant and are administrating the contract with the EDM studios, I do think they will take our advice.
Can you clarify what the Deerfield and Whately sites
The
are?
Deerfield site would be the site of, right now, the Deerfield Congregational Church, with the proviso that they tear it down. And build a 2-story, 1,500 square foot building. So that's what we're asking the folks at EDM Studio. We would like to ask the folks at EDM Studio to do like the preliminary design and layout of something where you get the pictures and you can see the trees we're gonna plant and like where the exercise room is laid out and so on. So that's, and the site in Whately would be here utilizing the warehouse and loading dock space plus building on in some fashion. They had a couple ideas about how to build on. So it was a hard decision because, you know, that space in Sunderland is beautiful. And as somebody said once, if it were anywhere else,
Yeah.
it would be a perfect place for a senior center. And I mean, we're reluctant because it may be the least expensive option. But it's not that much less expensive than some of the other options. And if in the long run, we've got a senior center where people are not gonna go to that, is what we heard from the focus group of seniors, that, you know, people went in at first, got some more information, talked about it a lot, and even the seniors who showed up for our board meeting, they just said, you know, I will go wherever you put the senior center, but people are not gonna go. Meaning, generally speaking, that distance is gonna be not attractive. It's very attractive if you live in North Amherst. Great location for a senior center if you're living in North Amherst. So that it really was the location that kind of did it in. Second problem might be ownership, that, you know, until we become a consortium, we can't own property. The towns would have to own the property. And so anyhow, that's kind of where we sat, and right now it's going through whatever the proper procedure is. I've sent a letter in to all the town administrators and asked specifically for DOP to take some action, whatever's the appropriate action. You guys they are the ones who have the contract with the EDM studios, so they need to direct them to do the next step. So hopefully we'll get that information. That's like roughly about half of the work. So half of the work was getting us to this point where we could make big decisions about location. And then the other half, basically of their work, is to try and lay those out and study up the details. Then give us something maybe a little bit closer in price tag.
Cool.
So, yeah,
Good
so
progress.
I should have. I feel like I'm just going on and on.
It's
Hey,
exciting.
would you like to do town administrator?
Sure. All right, a few items. On the personnel front, the community development administrator, we had 9 applications to that position, and then 2 others that came in late, but we reviewed those 9 applications, shortlisted, held interviews yesterday,
Fantastic.
and we will be bringing a recommendation to the next select board meeting.
Awesome.
For the planning board and ZBA administrative assistant position, which is the other job that is open right now, that was posted on the 25th of September. The intention is to begin review of applications on October 14th, which is next week. I'll be asking the chairs of the 2 boards, planning board and ZBA, to join me in those reviews, just like we did back in June. At the time I wrote this report, we had no applicants. Tonight, while we were in the meeting, I got 2 applicants, so we might have
Very
some
good, might have
options.
some
Uh,
Is that really highly paid?
yes,
Yeah,
Very.
what's the rate for this one? Just, I mean,
$21 an hour,
$21?
around $21.
around $21 an
Yeah.
hour for like, how many hours?
It's
a month?
about 10 to 15 hours a month.
Okay, 10 to 15, okay.
And November elections, with regards to the police detail, the town clerk was successful in receiving a grant funding in order to cover the cost for that police detail that the board agreed to. So that will be for that November election. Also, there is going to be an election ballot counter training session. That session is for anybody who's interested on becoming a ballot counter or what that process is like. That training is gonna be here at the town offices at 6 p.m. next Tuesday, the 15th. There will also be advanced removal of early voted ballots from envelopes. The town clerk has posted this notice. The early voted ballots will be opened at 9 a.m. on Friday, November 1st. The session will be open for public viewing. No tallying will take place, and the results will not be determined or announced until after the close of polls on the 5th. For the climate resilience pollinator project, that MVP grant funded project, we have a kickoff that is going to happen. That will happen here at the town offices on November 7th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That project's looking to design a pollinator corridor on town-owned land in the community as a way to assist with climate resilience and support our local ecosystem. FERCog has updated its watershed projects. FERCog is the non-point source pollution regional coordinator under the DEP's non-point source program. And as the coordinator, their role is to identify pollution and other stream and river related impairments throughout the county and work with the communities in order to develop water-based planning strategies. They visited a number of watersheds and impaired watersheds in the county, heard from officials and residents, developed the base plans, and they've applied for grants to fund assessments and implementations. Some of the watershed projects that they've been working on include river corridor assessments and mapping, analysis of potential sources of pollution in the watershed-based management plans, and zoning bylaw updates related to protecting those watersheds. Other projects focusing on the innovative river restoration and flood mitigation projects and prioritization and implementation of stormwater and agricultural runoff management projects are also included. They recently published a healthy and climate resilient rivers story map, which we have an article about this and a link to on the town news section on the homepage. That platform allows residents and officials to really understand what the issues are, what contributes to these factors, look at what the watersheds are throughout the county. But then, as far as town officials are concerned, there is a 4-minute survey that the FERCog is requesting feedback. If you've taken part in that pollution work, they'd like to hear what your experience was with FERCog in developing that. I have forwarded that survey to the Highway Superintendent, Planning Board, Concom, Board of Health, Open Space Committee, CPC, and Ag Commission as well. But if the select board, if any of you took part in any of those efforts, feel free to click on that link in the report. And then we already covered the senior center.
Hey, any items not anticipated? Oh, I'm gonna actually give you a quick update. I attended a meeting tonight for the negotiations for Franklin County Technical High School. And essentially, I didn't realize it when I went in, but there was a meeting with a good 10 to 12 people, and essentially what they were doing was designating a representative
Right.
from the group to
Right.
negotiate, and we honed it down to 2 folks and had a vote. And the winner was a young woman named Malin, who was really enthusiastic about taking the position. She's got some background in law. She's on the select board. She's the chair of another committee for the town, which is New Salem. I don't remember who. Maybe she's the chair for, but she's very excited. She has the time to make that commitment. So. Anything else? All right, next meeting will be Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. at the town offices, and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Woo-hoo.
And that.
Yes.